Greetings and welcome to Second Breakfast, the second most important meal of the day. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Jason. Shawn, what's for second breakfast today?
This week on Second Breakfast, we are talking about the latest episode of Amazon Prime's original series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, but we're not doing it alone. We're joined again by a guest. This week, the head of the... This is the joke I started a second ago. I'm going to keep going with it. The head of the Super SpikeGhetti Bros conglomeration, Mr. Michael SpikeGhetti himself. What's up?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Shawn, I want to correct you real quick.
Okay.
It's actually the Super SpikeGhetti Bros podcast network. I'm not the head of the conglomerate. That's actually we're owned by Embracer Group.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So easy mistake to make. But yeah, thank you for having me on this wonderful podcast. I'm a big fan.
Oh, well,
first time guest, long time listener.
Mike, as you are our guest this week and this is your first time on, why don't you start us off? What's your history with Lord of the Rings? Like, have you read the books? Are you a fan of the movies? You know, that kind of thing.
So, I read. The first time I was aware of Lord of the Rings, I was a Boy Scout, believe it or not, for a couple of years, and I remember we took this camping trip, and I had to ride with one of the other scouts' parents because my dad couldn't go to this one, and it was a couple-hour trip. Like, it was going way up north in Michigan, and they were listening to an audiobook the whole time.
Oh.
And as a kid, I was like, well, this fucking sucks. I want to... Wait, can I cuss on this show?
Yeah. I mean...
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, you ask yourself.
Sorry, I have to, as a podcast guest, I have to do all the podcast guest tropes where I ask if I can cuss.
Yeah.
It's
part of it. It's part of it.
Is this a bit you're going to do this whole time?
It's definitely a bit. So they were listening to an audiobook, and it was The Hobbit. And what I remember specifically about it is the way the guy did Smeagol's voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, Smeagol. And I remember being like, this is lame. But later on, in school...
Thank God for Andy Serkis, by the way.
Yeah, dude.
Right, yeah, for sure. Later on, when I was in school, there was this reading program called AR Reading. And believe it or not, your boy read at a higher level than his grade.
I believe that, Mike.
And so I had to start reading bigger, longer books in order to score well. And so that's when I read, believe it or not, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Wait, just that one?
He started at the Two Towers.
And then?
Nope, that's it. That's it. I think I read The Hobbit later, but I've never read the other two books. I've only read The Two Towers. But when I actually got into Lord of the Rings is when the movies came out, obviously. Yeah. And I remember my aunt took me to see the first one in theaters. And there are a couple, I've seen so many movies in theaters, as all of us have. And there's like two movies from my youth that I really remember going to see and being like, this was awesome. And the first one I ever remember is The Lion King.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember leaving the theater being so sad for Mufasa.
Okay.
Like, why'd they kill
him?
Man,
still by the end?
Yeah, still by the end. It happens at the beginning of the movie. It really affected me. And then the second one is when the credits rolled in the first Lord of the Rings and the song that plays. And I remember being in the theater and just being like, that was so cool. I can't wait for the next one. And so but since then, obviously I've been a big fan of the movies. The video games, I'm not as big a fan as my brother is, because
that's me. I guess for people
who
don't know,
if you don't know us,
don't
know us, Jason's my younger brother.
Yeah,
and I've learned that watching Lord of the Rings with Jason isn't what someone typically means when they say, "Hey, you want to watch a movie?" Because when watching Lord of the Rings with Jason and the family, it's like, oh yeah, we're watching the extended versions.
Yeah.
Hey, so instead of, hey, you want to watch a movie with us? It's, hey, do you have like 4 days to watch 3 movies? So but I still really love the movies. They're the first 3 especially. I'm not as in on the Hobbit movies, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Mike doesn't like the Hobbit movies.
They kind of
neither do I.
They bored me quite a bit.
Yeah, you're right. You should say it.
They just did. I'm
Yeah,
To be
it's
fair,
wrong, but it's fine.
if I'm being completely fair about it, I don't know that I've given them a full shot. Like I don't.
Mm.
I've definitely watched them like passively, and I was just kind of like, not into this. But I will say, Rings of Power has brought me fully back. I really enjoy this show so far. There are some problems with it, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some of that. But I think it's
not so much of this episode, but yeah.
No, this episode was pretty good. I was telling Shawn that I drew the lucky draw of being on an episode because one, this episode's awesome, and two, there's no Harfoots in this episode, so I'm winning. I'm winning.
You don't like the Harfoots?
Yeah, that's.
So I said this to Shawn earlier, but I'm just really sick of the trope of, oh, Eleanor Pricklefoot, you're so nosy and adventurous, and you get up to trouble, and you're the chosen one kind of thing. Like I'm sick of that trope where it's like they get into trouble, but they find something fantastical, and I don't know. I'm just sick of that, and so Nori and the stranger don't really do it for me. I'm curious to know who the stranger is, but I tend to, in those parts of the episodes, with the exception of the previous episode with the those warthog wolves that they fought. I thought that was cool. But other than that, I've been kind of out on the Harfoots.
That's funny.
The song was cool. I really liked the song.
Was so good.
The song was really well done. But other than that, I'm kind of like, when they turn on, I tend to look at my phone.
I'm like the exact opposite. The Harfoots are my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. You like Harfoots, man.
Okay, well, even though we did this, oh no.
I love the Harfeet. The Harfeet.
Yeah.
I'm honestly so surprised they did not make that joke because that's like a layup joke that's also in the Lord of the Rings. It said Proudfoots, and then the guy yells Proud Feet.
Yeah.
You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I'm
nobody remembers
surprised.
that, but Jason.
Can I tell you guys my favorite Lord of the Rings thing?
Well,
because you let
can.
Swirls do that, and if you let Swirls do it, not me, I'm gonna be very upset.
I was gonna, even though it's kind of been in reverse, I was gonna have you introduce yourself now. But if you want to do the Lord of the Rings thing first, you can.
Oh yeah. Hey, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Michael SpikeGhetti. I am one half of the Super SpikeGhetti Bros with my brother Jason, who also is on this podcast. We do a weekly podcast called The Ansem Report, which is all about Kingdom Hearts. Yes, two grown men talking about Kingdom Hearts. It's great. And we do a lot of other different stuff. I do a lot of podcasting with my good friend Shawn here, my Ganbu.
Yo.
So this is pretty natural for me recording with these two fellas, but I'm very excited to be on this show. And my favorite Lord of the Rings thing
okay, cool.
is something me and Jason talk about all the time. And it's the Aragorn Theoden conversation in Helm's Deep when they're in the dungeon, right?
Yeah,
They've been overrun.
Mm-hmm. They're in the keep.
And they're in the keep, and Theoden, like, he's looking around, and he goes, so much death, what can men do against such reckless hate? And Aragorn turns to him and goes, ride out with me. Ride out and meet them. And Theoden's like, yeah, for death and glory. Like that, and we, like, it killed, because then Aragorn's like, well, hold on, for Rohan and your people. and Gimli kind of butts in, and then, Aragorn remembers what Gandalf told him, and then Theoden's just running with it. He's like, yes, the horn of Helm Hammerhand shall sound in the deep one last time. And then Gimli gets into it, and he's like, yes.
Yeah, Gimli says yes. It's so good.
It's such a good scene.
And Aragorn's like, now hold on.
Yeah, right. He literally, like, the way he looks at him, it's like how you look at someone who's had too much to drink, and you're like, hold on, you don't need another one.
They're like full-on bloodlust, dude. They've been fighting for their life for like 8 hours.
Ride out and meet them for death and glory. And he goes, well, for Rohan and your people, don't forget your people. You know,
they're right behind you.
It kills me. And I just watched right before the show we started recording. I watched it again, and it gave me chills, even though it's like a thing I think is funny too.
Yeah,
it's just such a good scene. Because only Aragorn knows that, you know, Gandalf could possibly be out there.
I mean, it's honestly really good that you chose that scene, because that's pretty much what happens in this episode.
Yeah. Not planned, but you're right. You're absolutely right.
This episode, good segue. This episode titled Udûn, right, Jason?
Udûn. Yeah.
Udûn. Directed by Charlotte Brandstrom, written by Nicholas Adams and Justin Doble and J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay. Little bit of interesting factoids for people that don't know this. If you're looking at writing credits and it has the "and" symbol, that means it's a writing team. And if it just has "and" spelt out, that means it's like two individual people that were writing.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I
So
didn't know that. That's
Nicholas
cool.
Adams and Justin Doble were a writing team, and they worked with J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, who were another writing team, and also the showrunners, J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay.
Multiple teams.
Multiple teams. I feel like you need it for this episode, although I'm maybe not on the writing department. I want to go over some Discord thoughts first before we get our thoughts, because we had some people chime in. First of all, Chetzel, who commented last week as well, I'm pretty sure, said, "My biggest issue is that I don't think the timeline of the events lines up well. They combine two storylines, but I don't buy Numenor arriving at the nick of time to save the town, especially with how long they took to get there." This is something that Jason and I fought about after the episode, so Jason, you can go ahead and put this to bed, because I've since switched over to your side of thinking.
Yeah. So basically, it's like 11-ish minutes into, or I guess more. That's like 13 minutes into it. It's when Elendil just got done talking with Galadriel, and he goes to Queen Muriel and is like, "Yeah, so we are 2 days. We're one full day out from getting into the mountains, and then it's one full day on horseback to get there, to get into the Vale." And then what happens is, so you have the morning, and then you have the night is coming. Like it pretty much like jumps like that whole day, right? Because it goes from the morning in Numenor to the night with the Southlanders. Like it's as the sun is setting, right? Like, and then you have the whole scene with the tower, and then obviously I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but you have a whole night, then you have a whole nother day where they're getting ready in the town, and then you have a whole nother night, and then as the day breaks, they get there. So they pretty much do say, "Hey, it's gonna take 2 days," and then we see 2 mornings and nights, and then they're there. It's just that it's one episode, so it feels like it's been less time, right? But I would say it's pretty comparable to literally the scene that Mike was talking about, where, you know, it's like an hour and a half into the film, Gandalf like is like, "Hey, like at first light on," it's either the 3rd or 5th day, I can't even remember right now, I'm like second guessing, but he's like, "Hey, look to the east, like we'll be there." But you don't see like morning night. You just have to believe that that's how long it's been, an hour and 45 minutes later or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's pretty comparable, and I believe it. It does feel a little bit contrived, I would say, because it's like all this that's happening isn't canon so far. So like, I don't know. I think it can be a bit contrived. I think that what's cool is that because none of it's canon, I don't think anybody has like plot armor in this except for like a couple people.
Yeah.
Like, obviously Galadriel's not gonna die, but I do like it. I think it lends to the tension a ton.
This show, with the exception of one moment in the first episode, has kept it very vague as to how the different storylines line up. So they can sync it at this point and go, "Hey, 2 days we're going to be there," and sync it with that, you know, those two storylines converging. So I didn't really have a problem with it when I was watching it myself. So
Yeah,
I do think, I mean, I had, like I said, I had a problem when I watched this. I think I've narrowed it down to, it's not a writing, it's not something weird in the writing. It's something, it's a pacing weirdness in that the show has conditioned you to expect a certain pace. And this episode turns it up to 11, but also they're telling like an epic fantasy story. And if you read an epic fantasy book at the end around this point, they tend to go, okay, now everything is going to happen. You know, like we've been talking about them walking for 600 pages. Now the last 200 pages is going to be the most intense shit you've ever read in your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what they're doing here. So it does make it feel weird, but I think like not without easily identifiable reasons.
I think in just the context of this one episode, I could see why somebody would feel that way, but with the context of the whole season so far, I think it's definitely fair.
Swarles Barkley said, I hated that when they finally catch Adar that they don't look at the Keyblade. Like, check that crap out. Theo has to be the one that
Yeah.
realizes it's just a hatchet. Very maddening to me. We'll talk more about that later, but I was literally screaming at my monitor during that section, as
Yeah,
Jason can attest.
Everyone in the call that was watching it with us was like, what the hell? Like, surely Arondir looks at it, and then he doesn't, and he finally gives it to Theo, and we're like, just look at it, dude.
And then Korn said, I really liked this episode. I can definitely nitpick at some things, but overall I really enjoyed it. And then Korn fucking commits blasphemy and says, Galadriel still ain't doing it for me, though. Get the fuck out, Korn. Get out. I don't want to hear from you ever again after that. That sin against nature.
I don't know, dude. Korn might have a point.
No, it makes me sick.
Hey, I just want to say she's doing it for me, okay?
yeah, that's fucking right.
Oh my god.
That's
No,
fucking right.
All jokes aside, I don't know. I think she's badass. I do
I do love that we actually see her do shit. Yeah.
Right. I do understand the whole, well, this isn't the Galadriel we see in the movies. And, I'm willing to say, there's thousands of years in between that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like
Maybe.
7,000.
I don't know. The time compression's
Yeah.
I mean, at
pretty
the
hard.
very least,
but-
3,000.
Yeah, because the
Right.
Third Age stuff. Yeah.
So, to me, it's okay that at this moment in time, she's that war dog. She's that person that can't live
She got
life
that dog
normally
in her.
without. Yeah, she got that dog in her. What the dog doing? What other dog memes can I say? She's got that she can only live as like a weapon of war. She doesn't have the tact and the she's not ready to engage in politics, right? She just wants to be a warrior. And then later on in life, you kind of go, but maybe I don't want to do that anymore. So I think it's okay, but I get the complaint. But I think she's badass, and I think I've seen a lot of people say she's a bad actress,
That's crazy.
and that to me
been
is
pretty cringe.
that's insane. That to me is misogyny, dude. Like
Yeah.
the people that are saying that stuff, they're just wrong and they hate women. Like I don't know how else to explain it.
Or just they're trying to pick and pull at anything to dislike
Any
the show.
string to make the whole thing fall
Because
apart.
I will agree that up until this point, she's just been a ton of talk. Like, we haven't really seen her do much besides, killing the troll in a super badass way.
Right.
But like being hours removed from that, I feel like she hasn't done a ton. Yeah, she beats like some brand new Numenorian soldiers and some like weapon play,
Yeah.
and I think that was cool. But like to see her do some badass stuff, like that really sold it for me that she actually is this like weapon of war.
I guess so,
Yeah.
but I think like I guess my counter to that would be that every single situation where she's been in danger, she has not been in danger. Like every situation we've seen her where like a threat has come up against her, like physically, she has mopped the floor with. It's never been a point where it's like, oh no, this thing might hurt Galadriel. Like it's always been like, oh, they're gonna fight Galadriel, she kicks their ass. Like,
Right.
sure, there's a lot of time where she's not confronted with threats, but every time that she is, she easily handles it. So
Well,
like,
I guess we're not gonna buy that she's in danger regardless, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
She has plot armor.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I think she can still be effective as this character. And as we see in this episode, just because she's this badass warrior doesn't mean they can't fail.
no, yeah, no. No.
And so I think that if they do it that way, it's effective. But I get what you're saying. But I also just am like, yeah, it's like when they hang Chewbacca out of the side of the Millennium
The
Falcon,
train.
in the Han Solo
it's
movie.
a train. They're on a train.
Okay,
Okay,
whatever.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen the movie. I just saw the preview.
It's a
But
pretty
it's like
good movie.
I know Chewbacca's not gonna die. You know what I mean?
Dude, you'll be shocked when he does in that movie. He dies. They kill him.
I'd like to see him try to kill Chewbacca.
This is the point where I would say this is the order we're going to break down the storylines, but
It's
there's
really
one
kinda one.
storyline, so we're just going to talk about the episode. The fight, I mean, I think one of the greatest fights ever put to like camera. Like, regardless of movie or TV, I think this rivals some of the battles in Lord of the Rings. It's pretty fucking impressive, in my opinion.
Yeah. I do like that it starts off as feeling very small and contained, and then by the end it does feel you still get that epic feeling even though it is still like more of like a skirmish than a full on war
Mhm.
that we get in
Like
The
Return of
Lord
the King.
Rings or something. It definitely does ramp it up once the horses get there.
I mean, I think
Dude,
even before that, like even though it's not large scale, like I think the actual filmmaking in being shown off is like incredible.
Yeah, I agree. This episode, as far as camera work, is definitely back to form. I feel like it wasn't as good. There wasn't as like unique shots. I felt like in the previous episode, where there was a lot of very unique shots in this, lots of long shots, and just it was really awesome. I think the orcs, dude, the orcs in this are the best they've ever been. They just continue to be so good. They all look so freaking unique. Like they're not very cookie cutter. They're all so good.
When
I love it.
when the first orc got shot by Arondir, we're watching the episode and Jason goes, "No!"
Dude,
Not
well then
the
them
orcs.
chanting Nampa is like so raw because that means death in black speech. So they're just chanting death.
Jason,
The first orc that chants it when they're like realizing that the keep is like the tower is empty is like that one looked so scary, dude. That one was nuts.
I gotta tell you, Jason, we have to do a watch party on Twitch for the rest of these episodes at some point, because I have to tell the audience, there's nothing compared to watching these episodes with Jason, because they'll say some random shit in another language, and Jason will go, "That means this!"
Dude, yeah, later when Galadriel's chasing Adar, and she says Norolim,
Fucking see?
which is like what Arwen says in the Fellowship of the Ring when she's rescuing Frodo and running away. She's like she's like basically asking her horse to like go faster.
Right.
It's dope.
Wait, Shawn, you didn't catch that one?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, fake
I'm
fan,
not as
dude.
big a fan of Lord of the Rings as you guys are.
Fake fan.
I was
dude.
literally like, you.
No, I popped off for that too. I was like,
like,
"No,
what
it's
did you
like
say?"
it's like when Liv Tyler did it.
Even though she shouldn't be there, it's still badass.
What do you think, Mike? What do you think about the combat this episode?
I loved it. I loved the my favorite part was probably actually the way Arondir took down the tower.
That
was cool.
Just doing what elves do best, dude.
Right. Just setting a trap for these guys. And then, you know, I like the ingenuity of the men of the Southlands. You know, they
Yeah. It was
push
believable.
those carts down to block them in. You know, and I thought the scenes were shot very well. It's tough when it's so dark a lot of the times. Like
Oh, you don't fucking know.
a lot of it's a kind of a similar scene, but in Thor: Love and Thunder, there's that scene where they're fighting in like the town.
Yeah.
It was tough to follow that because it was so dark, but here they don't really struggle with that. It like everything's well lit without looking like it's like daytime, you know?
Yeah.
And they do a really good job of that. And then obviously anytime you're gonna get a bunch of armored badass elves, or not elves, I'm sorry, humans with one elf.
With the fucking
riding
long hair things.
Right, riding down on horses to just take out like orcs one by one and in groups and stuff like that. Stuff's cool. Can I bring up a problem I had with it though?
With the combat, yeah, go ahead.
Well, not with the combat necessarily, but with that scene.
Okay.
I might be talking out of turn here, but the one problem I had with this episode is the first group of horse people go down, and then you see the queen and her group.
Mhm.
Right, kind of watching over the hill, which she would have her own, you know, her own posse or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And Isildur is part of the posse.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just kind of turns to him and goes, "Go." And then he gets to run down and fight. And did that just feel weird to anybody else but me, or did I miss something?
I was
don't-
confused at first, but then they explain it later, right? Like when Elendil is saying to Isildur, he's saying, you know, your horse is restless because you're restless, right? And obviously the horse knows what's going on with like with like the natural disaster that's
about to happen. Yeah, the ground
But
is fucking shaking. Or
I would say that
whatever.
it's like, you know, it would make sense that a queen who is also taught in the way of the elves would know the same thing, right? Where the horse and the rider. So
you're saying the
he's
queen
restless.
That he
queen
was
knew
restless.
the horse was like that.
That the horse was restless because Isildur is restless, so she's like, "Hey, just go."
See, and I didn't feel. I don't know. I don't
Because
know
everyone else is standing at ease, and then his horse is like moving around.
Like he
and
rides
stuff.
up to her.
It's very
like,
clear that it's
So I didn't like it. Still, even with that explanation, I'm not sure I like it because
that's fair.
I think they could have done, something.
Just have him be in the
they have this moment early on when they're on the ships. Well, yeah, they have this moment earlier on with the ships where Isildur has a conversation with Galadriel,
yeah,
where she could have just said to his dad, like, "Hey, let him be with me," or they could have done something. You know what I mean? Like, they could have done something other than let's single out Isildur again. And I get that he's a character of destiny, but that just felt so weird to me that they're already going, all right, Isildur, go have your fun, buddy, down there. The horse thing explanation makes some sense, but I don't know. I think they could have done it better, and I would have bought it more.
I think there's like a
they
more
could have done
simple,
it in other ways. Yeah,
I think there's like a more simple explanation, which is he would like. I don't think he's part of her posse, but he wouldn't be in the fight to begin with. He's like the horse boy. Like I just think he was up there because he wasn't supposed to be in combat, and then he goes up and she's like, "Fucking whatever, just go for it," and he charges in to be with his dad. Like I don't think he was part of her posse in the same way that the rest of them were, where I think they were like an honor guard. I think he was just there because he was supposed to stay out of the fighting, but he was like, "Fucking let me go in," and she was like, "The battle's almost over, might as well."
Yeah.
Like the restlessness. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I do want to touch on the fact that, like, because we talked about it a little bit, and I don't think we will again. The scene between Galadriel and Isildur.
I was gonna bring that up later.
I felt like it really did save Isildur for me because he's just been so much of an airhead, and like we never really knew why. Like, oh, he wants to go west or whatever, right? But we don't know why he wants to go west until the 6th episode. Like, it's a little weird, but I do like that the idea that he's like, this doesn't feel like actual Numenor or whatever, right? Like he can feel the change in that they're not doing like with the ways of the elves or whatever. Like he just feels that it's wrong.
I still think it's really obtuse.
Yeah, it is for sure. And the fact that it's in the 6th episode and not like the 3rd or 4th or something, like I would have liked to have known a little bit more because he feels so much like an airhead in the first bit of this, But I do like the idea that he's like, I needed to get out. It didn't feel like the real Numenor. I liked it. And then any scene with Galadriel where she's having like a connection with people is like the best Galadriel in my opinion.
And I think she's doing better now that she's on her way to do something and she's not like cooped up anymore in Numenor. I thought it was interesting. Elendil mentioned that Isildur's mother drowned.
Yeah, how they say is raw.
I wonder if there's more to it. Like, obviously he sees like he hears the woman's voice calling out to him, like, go to the west. Like, I wonder if she drowned going to the west or something. And then his brother followed, like they kind of talk about, and maybe they're worried he's gonna follow too. I wonder if that's involved in this whole like,
I think
what is this voice calling to Isildur?
Her dying from drowning is just to create friction with the whole. The sea is always right,
The sea is always right, though.
The sea is always right. I want to go back to the battle because at one point the scaffolding falls from the tower and it impales a dude from behind, like sticks him to the ground, and that's just to lead into like, this is a violent episode of a Lord of the Rings show.
The tone.
I mean, I wonder if there will be people that are like think it's too violent because like they take it to like a level that I was not expecting from a Lord of the Rings show, to be honest. I would expect this more in like
insane.
Yeah, I'd expect this more in like Game of Thrones or something. But I was fine with it.
I like it. Yeah, I definitely.
Can we talk about the? I have a note on the boat scene. I know. I don't think we're gonna go back to it, so I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
But actually, I have 2 notes. First note is that I think we take this for granted with the show, but what a stunning scene with the sunrise and the land coming into view. Just beautiful, well done.
When
That's
his face,
where all
like,
the money
gets
is.
illuminated, yeah.
Right. And then second off, if you guys were stable boys, would you take a bite out of the same apple you fed your horse?
No.
It's like it's the horse he grew up with. I could see it. I've seen other people do it.
Would you
like,
then
in
throw it into the
shows.
ocean?
That's the part that's weird to me. Why did he just throw it into the ocean?
Maybe he thought his mom was in there.
Damn, too
I'm
soon,
sorry,
bro.
That was like a
Too
Tyler Rims
soon.
comment. I don't know
Oh my
where that came from.
God.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I need to be more professional in that.
I do want to say, like, Mike, you talked earlier about the night battle and like how night battles can be difficult. Literally, as the night fight was starting, and Jason can attest to this because I said it while we were watching it. I was like, "Fuck you, Game of Thrones. This is how you do it."
Yeah.
Because Game of Thrones famously had a terrible night fight in their last season where you couldn't see anything. And it's in my notes. This is how you do a night battle, Game of Thrones. Like it's not too bright, but you can see everything. I really like the shot of the torches coming over the field, or over the hill, and
that one was insane.
Yeah.
And the music that plays while it happens, it's like this weird string noise.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
They continue to just do like tension and just filling you with dread so well, dude. And the fact that this like not canon, there's so many characters that aren't, and I just know that they don't have this like crazy plot armor. It's actually believable. Like we thought so many people were gonna die. We were like at least Arondir or Bronwyn's gonna die. Maybe even Theo. Like I don't even know, but like these people are dead. Like somebody's gotta die.
Right.
I thought
They
maybe
do it so well.
I thought maybe Arondir. I was pretty certain Bronwyn wasn't gonna die just because they threw up way too many like death flags for her, and like only her. Like they really wanted you to think that she was gonna die.
When they said that, when she did the "with great power comes great responsibility" line, I thought that was the nail in the coffin for her.
Yeah.
I thought Arondir was gonna die when the guy was holding the knife to his eye, because they didn't set up any.
That was pretty
death-
crazy.
Like he
I
was.
thought he was gonna take his eye for sure, and then he would just be like a one-eyed, like he'd have to wear an eye patch or something.
Like if a show is throwing up death flags for everybody, that's when you're like, okay, I don't know
I
what's
could
gonna
see
happen.
all
But
of
when
them
it's like,
dying because you know what has to happen. I
Yeah,
was
but
like, they might all die.
I don't know that there were enough named characters in that scene for death flags to be thrown up for me to be like to be able like if a random person is hugging his family and I'm like they're gonna die, I don't care. They're a random person. They're a background. They're an extra. You know, like they got hired for the day. They're not really a character. But like Bronwyn was really the only one that they were really trying to hammer. They gave her a big speech to the people. They gave her a moment with her son. They gave her a moment with her lover. Like they were trying so hard for you to think that she was gonna die that I was like, I don't buy it. If they had
I
done
don't
that
know.
for everybody, like if Arondir had a moment of like personal thing and Theo had his own moment and everybody was having moments, I'd be like, okay, sure. But the fact that it was specifically Bronwyn interacting with everybody, I was like, ain't no way.
I mean, she still could die.
Yeah, she could die, but I was like, it's not going to happen in this fight.
I thought for sure because what I thought was gonna happen like episodes ago, like even when we like see the trailer and like it's because of the trailer, but I thought the scene where in the trailer where you see Galadriel standing in the town and there's like all the orange and everything, like
Yeah.
the ash.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like they got there too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were all gonna be dead. Like I figured that was gonna. I figured Mount Doom. They were all gonna die, and Mount Doom was gonna go off, and then they were gonna like be there to like just see that everybody was dead.
Yeah. I want to save that for a little bit because I want to talk more about the fighting before we talk about the ending. When the orcs were marching in, I feel like the music was kind of evoking some orc themes from the films. Like it kind of sounded like they were trying to get close to the dun dun dun, like that theme that they use a lot. On rewatch, I thought it was a good note. You can see the humans in the orc army when they first attack. If you're looking, which that was a pretty good twist, I think.
I thought that it was just like lazy choreography because I
Yeah.
noticed it in the first watch. There were some people who were kind of walking non-orc like, and I was like, I mean, I guess if like they have like 100 people and these are all real people, they're not like CGI'd in or something. Maybe they just, I don't know. I thought it was just bad choreography.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all.
turns out-
They fooled me.
Yeah, I didn't see it the first time until he stopped and he was looking at all the corpses, and I was like, "Oh, they were humans, weren't they?" Like that's That's just where my brain goes.
It didn't
like,
even
what is
cross my
the-
mind. Like, I noticed it, but it didn't like cross my mind that they would be human.
I didn't get there logically. I was just like, what is the most dramatic thing that could happen right now that would shock them all? And it's that they just killed all their friends. Like,
Yeah.
and so that's
But were they really their friends?
no, because they sold themselves out to an evil person, and presumably each of them had to kill another member of the group
Yeah.
to
That's
prove
true.
themselves. So fuck
That's
those
true.
people. They deserve to die. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The long takes in this episode, like we talked about, there was like the first one is awesome because Arondir is on the roof and it follows him. Like you see him get knocked from the roof to like a lower part of the roof, then down onto like a landing, then down to the ground, and then he kills 2 people before it cuts. Like you follow him all the way on this descent down and into like a little action sequence, and then obviously the extended sequence where he's fighting the mini boss.
The big old orc.
Yeah.
All of that, I thought there's a shot where Arondir is on the ground and he's like using his feet to fight, kind of. And it's really badass. He's like tripping the orc's foot out and like he's like grabbing like sticks and stabbing him in the leg and shit. Like, I think they do a really good job of showing that like elves are deadly no matter what. Like if you get a human on the ground, it's difficult. Like once you go down, it's difficult to recover from that. He almost fought better on the ground than he did while he was standing up. Like,
Right.
Kinda, yeah.
like it really didn't even bother him that much.
But what about Galadriel, Shawn?
Dude, I was like screaming when they're like, who is that? And then it shows Galadriel like slide off the side of a horse and decapitate a dude. I
Hell
was
yeah.
like, let's fucking go, dude. Like I just, all that shit is so good. I think when all the horses come riding in, that shit is really good. I think they did a pincer move. I asked Jason this while we were watching, and he said he didn't think so, but I think they come from both sides of the town. Because
It's hard to tell, yeah.
I don't think they do.
I think there's one side of the town that comes in from a hill, and that's where they come down the first time, and then another side of the town has a bridge that leads into it, and they ride in on the bridge as well. Like you see them ride in for the first time twice, I'm pretty sure. So I think they come in from both sides.
I think you might be right, yeah.
And so that was something I didn't notice until the second time watching, and I was like, good strategy. It's rare in fantasy sometimes. I did have a problem with the scene that happened in between those though. And it's that the scene where they try to stop Bronwyn's bleeding. It's real bad. Like Arondir does a really terrible job at something that he should know
As a
how to
field
do.
medic.
If he's like a soldier for 300 years, he's definitely had one day where they were like, here's how to deal with an arrow wound. And like, sure, he snaps off the front of the arrow, but he pulls it out, which you're not supposed to do. And then like Theo is just kind of barely holding his hand over it, and Arondir should have been like, hey, put pressure on that. Like blood is seeping out. Like
Right.
it's just there's like a lack of urgency in Arondir
Yeah.
that I'm like, dude, you should know that you are doing this very poorly and should be like, hey, let's fucking do this right. Like put more pressure on that wound. Like get something ready to burn the entry wound, to cauterize it. Like that was a moment where like I feel like there's another moment later in the episode where there's just characters are acting, they're making choices or they're doing things that they shouldn't, like from the information we've been given about them, just for like drama. And I think this is one of those where like they want to like have the fake out bleed out for Bronwyn, and so they have Arondir act kind of stupid when it comes to dealing with
they
the
could have
wound.
done it without the degree.
Yeah, no.
It
Yeah.
seems like she lost like
A lot of
3/4 of her blood or something.
Well, and also
It's
no
pretty
one does CPR or tries to resuscitate her in any
Yeah.
way, you know? Like she just, well, let's hopefully she wakes up, and then she does, which I feel like she wouldn't. Not because even if
Yeah.
she lived, she wouldn't just suddenly open her eyes just for
Yeah,
the
you don't
drama's
have
sake.
that.
Yeah.
Literally everybody in the call was like, she's dead. Oh my God, she's dead. And I was like, she's going to go. And then like a
Right.
second later, she was like, that scene's also fucked up when they're killing the people. like just really
Yeah, it was pretty raw.
slowly driving the swords in. I'm like,
That made me squirm, dude. I was
Yeah.
so uncomfortable between just them not screaming and they're just being killed slowly and the sound effects and everything. Because then when the second person dies, he like screams and he's just kind of stabbed really quick.
Mhm.
That one doesn't get me. But then it's like there's like a bigger dude, he gets stabbed. Then some man gets stabbed and you don't really see him and he screams. And then the girl gets stabbed real slow. It just so
even you saying it, like it gave me uncomfortable
yeah, dude,
feelings.
it gives me the
It's very
heebie-jeebies, dude. Also, like, I'm not gonna let her die in silence like she did on the show, dude. But like the lady who's like lighting the flame
yeah.
with Bronwyn, and she just gets instantly killed. Like her throat is just slit. She doesn't even say a word, and just gets killed instantly. It just set the tone for this whole thing, man.
Right.
It was, oh my god. Every single person in the call was like, oh my gosh, dude. And then also, like, leading, like, right after that, like, you know, she kills him, throws the fire in. And then it's just some classic Lord of the Rings shit where the orc goes, the bladed fools missed us. And then, and then he gets killed instantly. It's like the most orc thing ever. I love it.
Yeah, I
It's so
chuckled
good.
at that too.
Yeah.
There were a couple times I chuckled at orcs this episode.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the
I
other one
chuckle
is
a
right now.
lot.
But it was a similar. It might have been when they first get into the tower. I feel like an orc says something like real like crazy like that.
Maybe he sawed it off or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's the orcs are so funny.
I laugh a lot. Sometimes characters will just look at each other and I'll chuckle. I don't know. It's
Dude, we were kind of laughing when, you know, I mean, I guess we will get to it, but what the face Bronwyn makes when Theo's like, wait.
yeah. Yeah.
She's kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
So
she shook.
So I before that happens, I love that when Adar is like, first of all, Adar did nothing wrong. I love Adar so much. He should have won, I think. I mean, he kind of does win.
I
but
mean,
like,
he did.
He should have gotten to do it himself. Like, you know, this was his moment. Got upstaged by that little fucking freak Waldrig or whatever his name was. Should have been Adar.
Well,
MVP.
he knew that that wouldn't work.
My boy Adar. I love that when he's like, kill the girl, Bronwyn stretches her neck out. She's like, fuck you, go ahead, do it. Like, that's good. Yeah, let's talk about Theo being like, wait, I'm a pussy, don't kill my mom. This might be a little rude, but
Yeah, that was definitely rude. That was uncalled for.
look, Theo, we all lose parents. No need to be a bitch about it, all right?
Wow. Okay.
Mike, what did you think of Theo giving up the blade like that?
I mean, you knew that he was going to be the one to do it, right?
Yeah. He
Because
kind of
Arondir's
watches
a-
Arondir.
Arondir loves her, but he's a hardened soldier, and he knows that he cannot sacrifice the needs of many for the needs of himself. So
But he doesn't know how to apply pressure to a wound, apparently.
Well,
Like,
hey, he's not a medic, okay? He's not medic class. But you kind of knew that Theo was going to do it, and you know, you guys talked about last episode that maybe Theo's a good guy, but I think this is just a slow burn to
I
have
think you're right.
Theo become an evil one. And I'm gonna make a prediction. I don't know all the lore like Jason does, and I don't think it matters because I don't think this character exists in any of it. But I think Bronwyn's dead. Like I don't
agree.
think she's dead this episode, but by the end of this season, I think she's dead.
You
It's
think
going
end
to
of
be
the
the
season?
catalyst for him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and that's going to be one of the things that starts pushing him towards evilness.
Yeah.
Halbrand puts Theo under his wing.
Or Adar.
Okay, so all right. Okay, so I had a theory about that, but then on rewatch, I realized it couldn't be true. There was a second where I thought that maybe after Theo found out that it was an axe in the thing, he went to Adar. But then I saw him this time. He's helping people get away from the explosion at the end of the episode, so he didn't do that. But I do want to say I was very pissed at Theo for giving up the blade. He kind of redeems himself a little bit because he's kind of a badass in that fight. Once they like push out of the tavern when the Numenorians show up, like whenever you see Arondir killing orcs in that scene, right behind him, Theo's he's giving it to him too, dude. He's fucking shing shing. Like it's pretty cool. Yeah, do you guys have
I
any
don't
more
know.
notes about the fight
I can't
itself?
really blame Theo. Like, it's definitely like messed up because they're all willing to die, but he's like, no. It's kind of his only play that he has, right? Like,
yeah, he's kind
it's
of a
either
bitch.
watch
It's
his
okay.
mom die and then get killed himself. Like, he doesn't know that these horses are
Mhm.
coming. You know,
Mhm.
like, as it makes sense, like as the viewer, to be like, Theo, what are you doing? But he's
Right.
kind of playing time a
Yeah,
little bit.
I
It's not like he
think
rushes to it.
I think most people would do the same
Yeah.
in that scenario.
Most
I-
people are coward.
Hey,
One
okay.
one other
I'm kidding.
part that we kind of skipped over that
Go for it.
There's two parts that I want to. Okay, there's actually three.
4 parts.
There's three. No, there's straight up three. One part that I did want to make sure that we brought up was, you know, when Arondir's trying to break the sword with the hammer.
Yeah.
It very much reminds me of, like, you know, the One Ring where they're trying to destroy it.
Gimli
like,
tries to smash
Gimli
it with
hits
his
it with the axe or
axe.
whatever, right? That it's
Yeah.
like, hey, this power is just like, you can't just break this thing, you know? I thought that was cool. I do like that, you know, in having the humans go to fight the humans, it makes it so the Southlanders don't just like die in like a slaughter and they don't even put up a fight. I like that they're able to put up a fight, even though it's not super believable that they would be able to kill all these orcs. It's because they're not. Like, they're killing some orcs for sure,
Mhm.
but there's definitely a lot of humans in there that they're killing. And so I remember being like, there's no way that they beat these guys. Like, they're just like random like farmers and stuff. Like, yeah, they're fighting for their life, so you can kind of give them a bit of an edge, but like, I do like that they're not just fodder at the same time, but then they do end up getting just slaughtered with arrows and stuff. But I do like that they give them a little bit of a moment to actually be not useless, I guess. I don't know how else to put it, but then going right into it where another classic orc moment where the dude's laughing and he's like, they had to pay the toll and now you all die. Like, and then he like dies as he says it. Classic orc move. I love that shit.
Mike, do you have any more thoughts on the actual like battle before we talk about some of the stuff from the end of the episode?
No, I really like the battle, but I think the battle was good, but at the end of the episode stuff is more what intrigues me.
Yeah. I guess I'll say one last thing, but I'm also kind of keeping this because I'm going to talk about it at the end. I'm locking in my Sauron prediction at the end of this episode. I'm locking it in. I'm not allowed to change my mind next week until the reveal probably comes at episode 8. I'm making my lock in at the end of the episode, but I did enjoy the scene where Halbrand and Galadriel chased after Adar. I thought that was good. Okay, let's talk about Adar's like reveal, his backstory. Motherfucker killed Sauron. Like I said, no, I didn't say that, but I did say that like I thought he hated Sauron. Like that was the reading I got from him being like, when Waldrick was like, "You are Sauron, aren't you?" and then he chokeslams him. Like I thought that was how dare you fucking compare me to that guy?
Well, they kind of teased us with it earlier too, because Waldrick asks him.
Yeah, he's like,
no disrespect, but where is Sauron?
Yeah,
and he's like, he's about to answer, and then he gets cut off because, they're in the tower and all that. But yeah, no, I agreed with you on that, Shawn. For the record, I can say that now because I wasn't on the podcast, but I'm telling you, I agreed with you the whole time.
Oh, I like that.
I could still see a world where Adar is Sauron. Because there's like some things that definitely lead me to believe he's not. Like, there's definitely a lot to believe. But I think one of the possibility, I think there's like 3 possibilities, and one of them is not all 3 of them are not what Shawn is going to lock in.
Yeah.
But to me, I think there's still a chance that it's like in a very Darth Vader Anakin way, but it's kind of more of a reverse, where he's saying, I killed Sauron, but it's him just saying he killed part of himself. Basically.
Yeah.
I could see it being that. The main question then is what makes him have a change of heart, right? That would be the next question mark, I feel like. Other than just, losing terribly in the War of Wrath and then trying to get stronger and then feeling like, no matter how many people no matter how many orcs he creates or whatever, just not feeling like it's enough. I could see it over the like hundreds or thousands of years or whatever, depending on what the timeline is. And then there's another line. I mean, I guess we haven't gotten to it yet, but there's one line he says in like interrogation that is like makes me feel like he's Sauron, and then there's another line like right after that makes me feel like he's not. So I'm not sure.
I think he says some stuff that kind of ties the whole show together a little bit in terms of at least this plot line and the Elven plot line, where he talks about how Sauron was using like the unseen world or whatever to try to forge something, pretty much is what is implied, but that it wasn't working and that he was missing something to be able to make it work. I would guess it is mithril. And that is kind of what's going on with the elf storyline. Is the mithril is going to be used to make the rings somehow, and that is the bit that Sauron was missing. I guess I don't know that, obviously we'll see what happens, but I think that would make sense. I really just like Adar in that scene because he doesn't give anything up. Like a lesser bad guy would be like, you don't even know that you've already lost, but he just sits there, dude. He just sits there. And
he
like,
kind of says it. He says this land will be ours, and then you'll see. But he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not even like. Yeah, but that could come across as just like, you haven't beaten me totally yet. I'm gonna get free and I'm gonna do my thing. But like, he's not like, it's the events have already been set in motion.
It doesn't feel on the
know?
nose. Yeah.
Like, although I did I said this when we watched this again. When Galadriel goes to leave, he looks down at what she's holding, the hand axe in the wrapped paper, and smiles. And as she's walking away, he's smiling to himself, which I think is pretty good. I also think his line where he's like, perhaps your search for Morgoth's successor should have ended in your mirror is really fucking cold. I love that line.
Yeah. Well, then he also says, I'm not the only elf alive with a heart transformed by darkness. And that's the line to me where it makes me feel like he's not Sauron, because I don't think he would call himself an elf. And then he calls her an Uruk.
Yeah.
Like, which is, an Uruk is like, it's just the black speech word for orc. But like in some ways, like they call Uruks like the stronger ones.
The Uruk-hai?
No, that's different.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, Shawn, that's different.
He's basically calling himself. Well, Uruk-hai can move in the sun.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But Uruks cannot. But yeah, if like an elf is calling somebody an Uruk, it's like typically means they're a strong orc. But I think in the context that he's saying it, I just wanted to say it because I don't want people to think that, oh, he's a different breed or whatever. Like, no, they're all the same. Like, they're all orcs. They're just calling themselves Uruks. Like, they don't call themselves orcs. And speaking of the orcs, am I crazy, or are there like some female orcs?
I don't know.
Like, not in that, because I definitely think that there are orcs that are like female actresses, right? Because that was literally in the Lord of the Rings movies. Like, a lot that were played, like whether they're like orcs or goblins, like were female actresses. But like, I'm saying like literally in the show are female orcs.
Yeah, I have no idea. You mentioned this while we were watching it, and I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't notice any lady orcs, but I wasn't looking for them either, And I only watched the episode one time. You guys watched it like 6 probably.
Yeah, we got the up on you.
Yeah. Dude, one other thing with the orcs, dude. Between Nampa, Adar, and Udûn, the orcs chanting stuff is just my favorite thing, dude. Orcs chanting anything, S tier. It doesn't matter what it is, dude. Between like Nampa, Adar, Udûn, Grand, you know, like orcs chanting equals good.
And the one thing about this whole thing that really fucking bothered me was that nobody thought to check on the wrapped up sword to make sure that it was actually the sword. I'm like, really? How the fuck?
So
like, we get this far and nobody looks inside the thing.
Here's my take on it. So when Galadriel starts chasing Eddar, uh, the elf man,
Arondir?
Arondir says to her he cannot leave with the item that he has, right? Or something along those lines.
All right.
So she
Yeah.
chases him down. She doesn't know. He didn't say, hey, this is the key to unlock the Southlands and make it,
Right, there was no time.
No,
There's no time. He just said, hey, he can't leave with that. So she just grabs it, and to me, she doesn't look at it. She doesn't care what it is. She just knows that Arondir wants it. Now, him not looking at it, that is gross misconduct on his part. He should have opened that bitch up to make sure it was in there.
Like,
because even if she looks at it, they're gonna know that it's not the right thing.
it's like you
But
couldn't get away
they're
with
not
an
gonna
axe.
know what to do.
You
Right.
know? Like,
Yeah. They
Right,
don't know
so
about the tower. Or
I just think
anything
she
like
didn't look at it because she was like, hey, that's this guy's business. I just wanted to hunt him down because he's the leader of these orcs,
that. Mhm.
I just
and
can't believe that they got through an entire interrogation session without Arondir like bursting in, being like, "You got the thing? Let me see it." Like, as soon as she got back, if I was Arondir, I'd be like, "Hey, man, I got it. What? You got it?" Like,
well,
Yeah.
you talked about this with the first aid scene or lack thereof. I mean, maybe Arondir isn't as smart as we're giving him credit for.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a farmer.
so your argument is that Arondir's a bad soldier?
He was just a
know.
farmer.
He's a
and then
great
he just
soldier.
was
and then a
like
soldier for 300 years.
He's not a strategist. Like he's not. There's a
Well,
reason
and-
he's a soldier.
Yeah,
He's not even really a soldier either.
he's a
Like,
watchman. But
he just watches humans.
But he still kicks the
Like-
shit out of people, so you can't tell me he doesn't have some kind of training.
Right.
Like, you know,
Right,
like-
but that doesn't make him smart.
no, but this is pretty stupid. Like,
It is. I agree.
this is
That
very
definitely is.
contrived, and like it's so the plot can advance.
I
which
would
I'm
say
okay
it
with.
becomes contrived once he gets handed it.
Yeah, no,
think
I agree, I
Him
agree.
tending to Bronwyn and the injured people makes sense because then when they come back and then they hand it off, him not looking at it
Yeah.
immediately is weird.
That's what I agree.
I will say though that without that happening, we don't get the scene with Theo where he's saying
Mhm.
that he feels loss,
Mhm.
like at the fact that he doesn't have that power.
which is a
And
good.
it's very
moment.
echoing of like the rings and stuff. So I do like that scene a lot, and we can't have that scene
without all this happening. So
without
I guess it's
it
worth
unless
it.
you have them talking like before they even know that he's. I don't know how else you could have that scene, and I really like it. But
Right.
yeah, it is pretty dumb.
And then like episode 1. If you had told me that the scene that happens next happens, I'd call you a fucking liar. And that is that Waldrig is responsible for the creation of Mordor. Waldrig is the dude that slams the
And you
sword into
heard
the
of
key.
Sauron, boy.
And he
Well,
does it.
I don't know. Were you guys fooled by this at all? Like,
That he
we
had
knew-
it? No.
yeah, right. Because
No.
No.
they basically tell us.
Yeah,
Adar,
I just
when he
can't
comes
believe
out,
it was
goes,
Waldrig.
Waldrick, I have a task for you, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
But fucking Waldrig?
What
Like-
I'm shocked by, though, is because when this whole idea of this Keyblade, so to
Yeah.
speak, to unlock I was like, what does that even? Are the mountains gonna move? I was just like, that sounds
Literally
so
a key.
stupid. That sounds so stupid. Why? Who built that? Like, why didn't they just do it? Like, there's a lot to it where I'm like, this is dumb. But I actually really love how it comes together
Yeah.
with everything they did with the water coming through, and that causes, what becomes Mount Doom supposedly to erupt. And I really enjoyed it, actually, where leading
Yeah.
up to it, I was like, okay, so what's gonna happen when he turns this fucking key? Like,
Mhm.
ooh, but I actually thought it was
If
really
it just
well done.
erupted, it would be a little bit weird for
You
sure.
see, I actually feel the opposite. I felt that this was a little bit. I really enjoyed it, but I told this to Jason. I thought this went too far into the realm of realism for Lord of the Rings, for what I would expect. Like, Lord of the Rings, to me, the magic is always like, fuck you, I did magic. You want to ask me a question about it? Go fuck yourself. It happened. Like, don't worry about it. So for them to be like, the sword goes in the hole and the thing opens and the water goes through the tunnels and it goes into the volcano, and that is like, to give me the scientific explanation for why this happens feels like it goes, like, I would expect that from a different fantasy series.
I mean, it's an explanation, but it's not like it's still not magic. Like, dumping water into a volcano doesn't make it erupt.
No, but it's a lot close. Like that is like I saw people talking about this online, and they were like, checks out. Like if you were to do that, it wouldn't like maybe not to that extent, but like it'd be bad. Like this
I don't
was
know. I really liked it. That it's like there's a bunch of things where okay, not only is this a sword, but it's a key, and not only are they making the tunnels to move around, but the tunnels are actually on purpose to actually fully create all of this land. Because like just the volcano erupting, like yeah, over time the ash and stuff would like kill everything, and then the constant eruptions would constantly be making clouds and stuff, like turning it into it. But to have like instant annihilation and like just blowing up a ton of stuff, they have all of these places like tunnels made where all of this pressure and lava and
I think
stuff
it's really
can go
good
throughout the whole place is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's really cool. I just was not expecting that from Lord of the Rings. I was expecting like, because again, like I said, the magic is like I'm gonna whisper to a butterfly and a fucking thing is gonna happen. Like fuck you. You have questions. I don't care. Like there are a lot of more modern fantasy authors, I would say, that would be like, here is the exact details of why when you do this, this happens. Here is how the mountain explodes. I feel like Lord of the Rings, I expected them to be like the sword went into the hole and the mountain exploded because of the magic of the vala da 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 da. And you're like, what does that mean? And Tolkien's like, shut the fuck up, just enjoy it. You know, like I'm not against it happening here. I just was like, this is a lot of explanation. Okay, I'm all right. But I think the volcano.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I think it's fine, Shawn.
Yeah.
You're being cringe.
Yeah, dude. Because I expressed that I was caught off guard. I'm being cringe. I'm being cringe, Mike. Me. I'm the one who is cringe. It's like that scene from Breaking Bad that I haven't seen where he's like, I'm the one that knocks. It's like, but I'm like, I'm the one that's cringe.
You know, I will tell you, I don't know that you had to explain that. I think most people would have gotten that reference, but you were unsure because you've never seen Breaking Bad.
Exactly. I'm on season 2.
You nailed it. You nailed it, is what I'm saying.
And I think the volcano erupting is like maybe the best scene in television history. Like it's really
I can't think
good.
of a more badass moment for a TV show.
I mean, even in most movies, I don't think there's been something that good.
Yeah, that was like $100 million of their budget.
Half the budget was that. Like it just looked really good and so badass. Galadriel just fucking standing there and letting it hit her. And I think it's funny. One of the first magazine covers we got for this show before there was even a trailer was Galadriel standing, and I completely forgot about this, but standing in the Southland village with people running around behind her, staring onward. And that shot is in this episode of her staring at Mount Doom exploding. So I think it's funny that that was like one of the very first things we ever saw from this show.
Yeah. I will say,
Crazy.
I wish that, and obviously there's like issues of rights, but I think the reason, and maybe that's how the next episode will open, where you kind of see it from her POV. Maybe she has like some flashbacks to Beleriand, where, volcanoes are going off, things are blowing up, the continent is sinking, like that type of thing, where she's just having a flashback or like PTSD to the War of Wrath. And that's why she's just so shook, like, because she would be such a battle-hardened person. I think that her just standing there doing nothing while everybody else is doing stuff, I think because I think that that's what's happening, but I think showing it would be even better.
Yeah. No, I agree. That'd be a cool thing to see next episode, I think. I don't think they're going to show it, but I think it'd be cool to see it. Before I nail down my prediction for who's Sauron, do you guys have anything else?
I do like that Isildur, when the shit starts going down, he's worried about his horse.
Wholesome.
That was good, yes.
I think the horse is dead, though.
No way. It got stabbed and lived, dude. It's got
I think the
plot
horse
armor.
is dead.
Yeah, that horse is going to make it to the end, just like the horse in Wheel
The
of
horse
Time.
will die in the
They purposely
the Battle of the Last Alliance. That's when the horse will die.
They purposely showed the barn where Adar was being held and show that he is not
there.
cuffed. That there was a purposely done
Oh,
shot
yes.
there. I
He's
don't
gone.
know. I don't know if the wooden shacks of the Southlands are going to keep those people safe from that.
No, they just have
I'm
to
a little
run.
nervous
There's
for
no
what we're
way.
going to find.
Don't
They-
even
they-
run. I think find a cave and get down. Like
I-
running,
I-
you
I
can't
think
outrun
they
that.
They just run and get to the boats.
We didn't really. I mean, you might be wanting to talk about this with your Sauron thing, but we didn't really talk about Halbrand at all.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him in a
Um,
minute.
Wait, you really think he's Sauron?
Oh, I 100% think he's Sauron.
They're baiting you, dude.
Yeah,
you're
no,
being
I've-
so baited.
It's okay. That's all right.
The one
Oh,
line
man.
that I didn't talk about earlier with Adar that makes me feel like he's Sauron still is when he's like saying the one you called Sauron and like, oh, I cut him, I split him or something like that. Like,
Mm-hmm. I mean, that could also just be like that's not his name, right?
yeah,
Like, that's what they call
but
him.
that still just to me makes me feel like Adar is Sauron. And also in that same scene when
Mhm.
Galadriel is saying that the orcs are a ruined form of life, it really reminded me a lot of Christopher Lee, R.I.P. legend, talking about how the orcs were created back in when he's making the Uruk-hai,
Mhm.
a ruined form of
Mhm.
life. And then when she's saying that she wants to just burn all the orcs like in daylight, that's raw, dude. Like she definitely got issues,
It
bro.
is.
Like they're orcs, but
Well, I think she knows that he loves orcs. Like he sees them
Yeah,
as his
yeah.
children, as opposed to just like slaves, like maybe they were
Mhm.
seen in the past. So she's
Yeah.
trying to hurt him, you know. But
it's still crazy.
yeah, it is still pretty nuts.
All right. Anything else before I lay it all down for you?
I don't like the. Sorry, go ahead.
I really liked when Vigo
Okay.
kicked the helmet.
God damn it.
That was pretty good.
You're off the
And he
podcast.
screams and he broke his toe. That's pretty hype.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
broke
That's
his
pretty
toe.
good.
Yeah, I really liked that.
I'll
part.
say I don't like. I don't know how I feel about it. My initial reaction is that I don't like it. This weird tension between Galadriel and Halbrand. I don't.
I got an
Oh, that's
explanation
true.
I don't
for
like
it.
it.
Are they gonna fuck? Like, what's the deal?
No, I don't think
Well,
so.
I think it's incredibly
I don't know.
short-sighted if they do this shit, because I said it before, dude. No Celeborn equals no Celebrian, and no Celebrian equals no Arwen. Like, if you want to have this whole mega epic, and then maybe it has spin-offs or something where you do, like, stuff in the Lord of the Rings, not having Arwen is an idiotic move, bruh.
Yeah, I think that they're doing this on purpose. And I don't think it's so that like they can be like Celeborn isn't going to be in it. I think it's just he's not in it yet, and she'll meet him probably like next season, or maybe they've already known each other and they'll re-meet next season. So here's my defining reason for why Adar isn't Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
You ready? His ass got beat. He lost. He lost his ass. Like he kind of won, but they rode his ass down, and who knocked him off his horse? The former Dark Lord known as Sauron, Halbrand. Halbrand rode his ass down, knocked him to the ground, and they captured him. They're not gonna do the Dark Prince of Awesome like that, dude. He's not getting taken down. Episode 6 of season 1. Like, ain't no way. Yeah, I think I'm
But that
locking it in
is
now.
Sauron.
Like, come back.
No,
Halbrand
I'm
is
saying,
Sauron.
like, losing is what Sauron does. Like, in the first age,
Yeah, but
he
they're not
takes
gonna have him
constant
lose in the
Ls.
first
The
season.
second age, he ends up taking some
Yeah, but,
W's,
like-
but he also takes some L's. Like, that's the thing with Sauron, is like, because he takes L's,
Yeah,
he has
I'm
a
not-
ton of doubt in stuff. Like, he's very, like, he has anxiety about a lot of stuff, and that's what makes it so that, you know, he doesn't even think that they would ever destroy the ring.
But from a storytelling perspective, you're not going to have the main villain of the 5-season show get his ass beaten in
think
season
that
1, episode 6.
in order to power him up later, I could see it.
Like,
yeah.
and I think if anything, if this was the finale of season 1 and he lost, I'd be like, okay, maybe. But like, it's not even the finale. Like, it's episode 6. Like, we're not even at the end yet, and his ass gets taken down. He ain't the villain of the show.
I mean, without spoiling, like,
Um,
it's canon. He loses immediately, or not immediately.
Yeah,
he does
I mean,
lose to
but
Nimrod, though.
I'm not saying he can't ever lose. I'm saying the first time we see him go up against any sort of force and he gets his ass beat.
Right, but he didn't lose, Shawn.
No, he still got his ass run down.
Okay.
And he got his ass knocked to the floor.
He got tackled off a horse. It's not like it was some crazy battle that
he got his ass knocked right off that horse by Sauron.
This is such cope.
By Halbrand. No, if you look at this is not cope. People in the comments are going to be like, Sean's right. You're not going to take your villain down in season 1, episode 6 of the 5-season show.
He didn't even
exactly. That's why the Joker is a terrible, a terrible villain.
Yeah, Halbrand could be Sauron. I'm not saying that, but your reasoning for it is
first reasoning.
Joker doesn't get taken down the first time he goes up against Batman. He gets taken down
a million times. That's the trope. Is that Joker?
But never the first time.
At first,
it's like
he beats the Joker.
It's like
he doesn't ever kill him, and he always gets free, and he always does more stuff.
Yeah. But Joker never shows up, does something, and does something and immediately loses. He's like, I'm here. Oh, I outsmarted you this time, Batman. And then he gets his ass beat. Like, it's never
this
the
is
first time we
Shawn,
see him, he loses.
He didn't like... Yeah, this is a weird argument.
This is storytelling.
No. This is a weird argument because it's not like Adar jumped off his horse and said, okay, bring it on, and then got his ass beat. He got tackled off a horse and was captured, but he knew he was going to be captured because that was the point. He gave Waldrig the thing. So this is, if anything, it made him look like a smarter villain. It didn't make him look weak or... No, you're just wrong, dude. This is just so wrong.
I'm right. You're not going to have your villain go down like this in season 1, episode 6.
Dude.
It's not going to happen.
I mean, like, I also think that it's just...
The whole stuff with Halbrand...
It is a Sauron thing. You get defeated. You make them think that that they beat you.
I acknowledge that, but from like a storytelling structure, you're not gonna have your villain get beaten on the first try.
But he didn't lose.
He ran away.
He did lose.
He ran away knowing they were chasing
the Southlands are fucking Mordor now. What are you talking about?
He got his ass beat. He got his ass beat.
He didn't lose.
He got an ass beat by a random dude on a horse. That's cringe, dude.
And then you know what happens?
Except
according to you, he's not.
Except
a random
it wasn't
dude.
A random dude on a horse. It was revenge.
Yeah,
dude. And then you know what happens?
I can't believe I'm on the worst episode of the
Shawn, you know what happens 3,000 years later,
and it's not my fault.
A random dude on the ground with a broken sword cuts his hand and kills him.
Mm-hmm. But Elendil doesn't die first, right? Like, Sauron doesn't kill anybody else in that fight before. Still, like he doesn't win before he loses,
show,
you know?
Isildur? Yeah, bro, he beats Sauron. Like...
Yeah, after like a long time, not the first time. Like...
Oh my God, Shawn.
Anyways, Halbrand, we talk about, like, Adar talks about, like, hey, yeah, Sauron was doing this thing. Like, he was obsessed with forging. We've seen Halbrand is obsessed with forging. And he was like, yeah, he tried to do this thing. And I was like, fuck this. You're being a bad person. Like, you're fucking, you're not leading this correctly. And so there's a mutiny, right? Sauron gets mutinied. One of his own kills him, and he's mutinied. And also at the beginning of this show, Galadriel gets mutinied, right? And then what happens to Galadriel after she's mutinied? You know, she goes back, she gets on the boat, and she ends up adrift on the sea because she jumps out. We meet Halbrand as well, adrift on the sea after he's been mutinied as well. Not directly after, but it's not supposed to be a direct connection. It's just more metaphor that he's also adrift after this mutiny. And this connection starts to form between them as he's starting to be like, am I doing the right thing? Like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be this bad guy? Am I supposed to be this good guy? Which is kind of this conflict he's been talking with Galadriel about this whole time. I think he's way too good a fighter for him to just be like, especially with what we've seen of the Southlands, it doesn't make any sense that any of those people would be able to fight like he can. Like, and I know that Sauron isn't supposed to be a great fighter, but I'm not even talking like I think Halbrand would get his ass beat by Galadriel, but he's clearly a step above normal people. Like, I don't see any of the humans that we have seen in the Southlands being able to do the things that he does in this show. I think that the stuff with like Halbrand, the first thing he says to Adar is, "Do you remember me?" Which would be a weird thing to say to somebody that like just killed your family or something, or just like killed your family like they've killed a bunch of other families and a bunch of other humans. Like, it's weird. It's like, I know you've conquered the entirety of the Southlands, but do you remember me specifically? And then the camera holds on Halbrand until or not, he doesn't hold on. I'm confusing two moments, but the camera is like on him, and then Adar says no. And I think that's when Halbrand makes up his decision that he doesn't have to kill Adar. But I think he also struggles with it because, like, when he's holding the spear to Adar, and Adar is like, was it a woman? Was it a child? There really isn't a change on his face when he says those things. And people are saying that there is, but they're ignoring the fact that between Halbrand having a reaction and the line where Adar mentions a child, Galadriel is like, you don't have to do this. Is like presenting another path to him. And that's when he starts to struggle. When he's and obviously he's talked about like he thinks he has this destiny because he's like the king. Like that could possibly be true. Like that I will acknowledge that point of evidence could point to either him being Sauron or him just being the king of a group of people that were bad in the past. But I think it's intentional that this relationship we've built between Halbrand and Galadriel this whole time has been of Halbrand thinking that he is destined to be evil and Galadriel showing that there's another path, which is like this whole conversation that they have afterwards where Halbrand is like, I never thought that I could do this until we fought alongside each other. And if I could take that feeling and he says, if I could bind it to my very being, like,
I would say that's just
I would do that.
fantasy
And
writing.
I think that's...
But I get what you mean.
I think it's fantasy writing, but I think it is also him continuing this thing of, I think they're trying to connect Galadriel because she's clearly the lead of this show to Sauron. Even though obviously we know Isildur is going to be the one that strikes the final blow. Like Galadriel's been the main character of this season pretty much. I think she's had more airtime than anybody else.
Okay, I'm sad that you started off with such a terrible, terrible point because I do like a lot of your points, but this is how I see it. Is that okay? So like,
I'm not done yet.
Okay, I guess go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead. But I mean, I think the last thing was just this conversation he has with Galadriel. And then when he goes to accept the kingdom of the Southlands, he doesn't seem conflicted when he meets these people. And when they're like, are you the king? He looks at Galadriel and then he gets conflicted. And he's like, do I do this? And I think that the choice is, if I take up this position, right, of these people that were evil, and I choose to be their king, that's me solidifying that I am following in Morgoth's footsteps, that I am going to be this Dark Lord Sauron. And I think he does make that choice right here, that he's like, okay, I'm going to be evil. And I think immediately afterwards, when people start to like, I think you see the ego of Sauron. Because when people are like, all hail king of the fucking lands or whatever, he doesn't look like a dude who just made a tough decision for something that he didn't want to do, right? He looks like somebody that's like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted this whole time, right? And I've been fighting myself because of what happened with Adar and because of what happened, and I was like cast adrift. Like I've been led to question myself, right? And I met Galadriel, and she presented this other path, and I'm like, is that the path that I should be on? But as soon as he proclaims himself the king of the Southlands, he's like, no, this is what I wanted. This is the power that I was craving, and it feels good to have it. And then immediately Mount Doom blows up. So I don't think it's a coincidence that he becomes king of Mordor right before it blows up. And with that, I lock in my vote, Halbrand to Sauron.
See, okay, so of the three people that I think could be Sauron, I don't think it's Halbrand. I see what you are seeing as, okay, so he says, remember me. And I guess you could see, like, okay, with your point that, you know, it was when he was killed by Adar. To me, it's more, and they allude to it before, and especially with what ends up happening directly after and how they end up cutting the scenes together, he's like, you guys would cast me out if you knew what I did, right? And you could say, okay, that's him saying that he's Sauron. To me, it's, in order to live, he had to kill one of his own, right? In the same way.
I could see that.
Right?
I think it could be totally be
and then
right.
him saying, do you remember me, is because he had to kill somebody that he knew or loved or whatever, right? And then him not even knowing, it's just like another evil thing that this guy did, right? And so he went up against evil, lost, gave into like just evil, and his whole life he knew that his entire bloodline was essentially doomed to be evil in his mind, right? He knew that his ancestors had sided with Morgoth, and the elves had been beating that over their head the whole time as well, right? So then he loses and gives in, like it's lose-lose. He's like, I'm just this evil person. And then now he's like trying to get away and run away. He sees Numenor and it's like, okay, this is for a place where I can just hide away. I can do an honest work. And then that's it, right? To him, going back to the Southlands is suicide, right? And he doesn't even want to go back because he doesn't want to have to deal with that part of him that did these terrible things, right? So then him saying, you know, fighting alongside you, like that, I would equate that to him having hope, you know, like he didn't think it was possible. And especially with the moment that he has where she's like you don't have to kill him, right? Like you like don't kill him. Like we need him alive, and you can't quench your thirst with seawater, right? And he finally gets through that. Immediately then has the moment where he's saying, like directly after, is sitting down with Galadriel and is saying, you know, like fighting with you, and you know, I would then say, reading between the lines, not giving in to my evil tendency immediately, like doing the right thing and not giving in to what I could easily, like no one would blame me for killing this guy if they knew what he did, right? And that's literally what he says. That's his train of thought. I think that it's okay, I can be a good person, not that I can be evil, right? And then he has all of these people around him that he now is thinking, okay, these people are going to support me. We can do this. We can beat evil. They literally just did, right? Both in like in their head, right? They don't know what's going to happen with Mordor. To me, it's like, you know, if all these people are cheering for you and you knew that this was your birthright and you felt like you just won literally in a physical sense as far as the battle, but also in a mental sense as far as not giving in and killing Adar, this person who he feels like made him change in a very big way, having to probably kill people in order to survive, or just giving up all of his people to run away, or whatever actually happened. He beat him in a mental way as well. So that's how I see it.
I definitely think that a lot of the evidence I put forward could be taken in ways that means that he is Sauron, and ways that mean that he isn't. I think I fall on he is, because I don't think anybody else has. I don't think any other possibility for Sauron has the same amount of work put into the setup. Like, I don't think any of the other characters that could be Sauron they have hammered home as much, like, seeding in, like, here's how it connects, here are the metaphors of, like, how it connects to other main characters and, like, how we can parallel them. I think they really put a lot of work into trying to make Halbrand a character that could parallel Galadriel and then be very likable as a villain, so that, like, as Sauron is doing his thing, we're entertained and, like, we like to watch him and maybe even be a little conflicted at times about him. Because that's good television.
I'd say it's the same thing for Adar. I think he's a good villain.
I think so, but I don't think I think Adar is a great villain. I don't think he's Sauron. I think he's a great one season villain. I don't think he's a villain for a whole show.
Because he got bodied right away.
Yeah, because he got. I just don't think they put the amount of work into him.
So you prefer the Sauron that got bodied off screen?
Yeah. I just mean, I don't think that they've, like, I think they've held Adar closer to the chest and made him more mysterious so that you would think he's the Dark Lord, but I don't think they've put as much work into his character as they have a character like Halbrand, and set up as many of the comparisons that could be made. And I also just, like I said, he doesn't show it often, but he's a very skilled fighter and very dexterous in a way that we don't see any other human in this show act. And I think it's weird that nobody knows who he is. Everybody's like, are you the king that we were promised? Like, what does it really mean for him to be the king of the Southlands? Like, he has this sigil, but nobody knows who he is. Like, he's apparently not connected to this other village that got burned, because Bronwyn said her family was from there.
Well,
and
the
she has
idea
no
is
fucking
that
idea
every single town has been destroyed in the entirety of what is now Udûn.
I just mean that like earlier on when we were talking about Hallbrand, we were like, oh, I guess the implication is that he's from that town that got burnt
I don't
down.
think so.
And like
the implication is that she was from
we
there.
definitely
There's no way Halbrand's from there.
Yeah, and
'cause
we
she's from
definitely
there, and she doesn't know who he
we-
is.
okay, Jason, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we thought back in episode 2 that he was from there. We said
This is
on the
only the time
podcast
we
that
had
we were
seen,
like,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. And
But
this
then
obviously
later
shows
we
that,
see
like,
they
that's
open
not
up
the
the gate.
case.
Remember, they've been in the tower for a while, and they open up the gate, and more people are coming in, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, these people are from, these people are from this town or whatever, right?" And she's like, "Wow, like everywhere from here to Udûn has been attacked or whatever."
I also get the idea that that's recent though. Like, why are they just showing
Well,
up
I don't think
now?
that the first town. I don't think that town that she's from was the first place to be attacked.
I get where, like, I agree, but I feel like Hallbrand's appearance on the sea is weirder now than it was before. It doesn't feel like Adar was in as full of a swing before the events of the show that he is at this point where like everybody's meeting in the tower and shit. Like, it feels like it was small enough that they were able to keep it under wraps at least while the elves were fucking patrolling the place, you know? Like, it was a recent thing.
I don't know. I think that is like something that we can't really know as far as like where he actually like. It's definitely like speculation at that point, but also like I think even from like a more broad sense, I don't think Sauron ever turns himself into a man. Like at this point, he doesn't even think man are like anything he even cares about.
And I get that, but I also don't know that I personally would weigh pre-existing canon heavier than like the narrative of the show. Like, I feel like what they've set up for Halbrand and how he could possibly be Sauron outweighs like something that isn't present in the show yet. Like, they haven't shown that Sauron hates humans yet. Do you get what I'm saying?
Because he doesn't.
Like,
Because the things haven't happened.
That's a dumb way to no. That was a dumb way to. That was a dumb way to phrase it. They haven't shown that Sauron would find being human to be like disgraceful, but even maybe that's part of it. Maybe like he got betrayed and that's of self-punishment for him to portray himself as Halbrand as this human while he's adrift on the sea is punishment for like, I can't believe I let fucking Adar knife me. You know?
I don't know.
That little bitch got
I don't know.
me. That's
Mike,
bullshit.
what do you think, Mike?
You know?
I think they're trying to make us believe he's Sauron and he's not.
Mhm.
Like I just think there's too many. They're being too vague about the clues. Like when he's like, you know, do you remember me? And he says no, and then he asks, "Who are you?" And then as he walks away, right? I just think they're purposely trying to lead us the wrong direction. I don't necessarily think it's Adar either, though. But I just think they're not. I think that Halbrand is a ring.
I think he ends
He's
up
not
becoming like the Witch
You know
King.
what I mean?
That's why I could see. Because he does.
I hope that is what I want from Halbrand. Because like, to make it clear, I don't want Halbrand to be Sauron. I just think the evidence is like overwhelming for me. And I mean, I think I said this in the past. I really hope none of them are Sauron. I really hope Sauron is not been shown on screen yet. And like, he's behind the fucking cultist from last episode. And he's doing his own thing. Like, he's been having his own plot and he's unrelated to the thing that's happening here. And maybe he's like pulling the strings a little bit. Maybe he's like sent people to tell people to do things in the Southlands to like set things on the right path. But my hope is that we get the reveal at the end of episode 8 that he hasn't been in the show.
Like, who do you
yet.
think is Sauron? Like, if you just had to, like, you're not locking it in. Like,
If
Shawn
I just had
is,
to guess,
who do you think
I'm
it is?
locking it in. I'm
currently?
locking it in.
I think it's
You
Mr.
think it's
Outside
someone
Hire.
we've never seen.
You think it's the stranger? Or
No, I think it's someone we haven't seen.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I think the three people it could be is either Adar, which I'm not super like. He's like 10%. I think it could also be the mysterious guy, the mysterious man, the stranger.
The stranger,
or I think it could be Mr. Outside Hire. I don't know. If it's the stranger, like it's really messed up. But I remember saying if it isn't Adar, I do really like Adar because of his like compassion and wanting to make Mordor into this dark place. I think it's a little weird unless we find out that he's been manipulating Adar the whole time, which definitely could be the case. It's a little weird for Sauron to not even be the reason why Mordor is Mordor. It's a little weird. Waldreg is no, but Adar really is.
Nah, dude,
Yeah.
this was all Waldreg's plan.
True.
Waldreg is Sauron. I also really don't want Adar to be Sauron because I really want Adar to stick around and not be like the main villain of the show. I think he's a really compelling
Yeah.
character, and I think you can get more out of his compassion.
Well, and I think that's what makes Sauron
for-
seem even more evil too, right? Like you have this bad guy
Mhm,
who
mhm.
still has compassion for the orcs. Like I think that Adar exists either A to either be Sauron and show that he is more complex than just being pure evil, or B, he is there to make Sauron seem even more evil because not only is he, enslaving men, he's enslaving orcs too. Like he doesn't care about the orcs. Like in being like juxtaposed to Adar, he seems even more evil because he's also enslaving the orcs.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna find out. I'm locking it in. We will find out in 2 weeks, probably.
I don't know what else the finale would even be at this point, right? Like maybe the Balrog.
I really hope they don't drag this shit out. I want to know who the stranger is by episode 8, and I want to know who.
I
Sauron
guess
is by
that's the
episode 8,
other thing,
or if
right?
he
Like,
is even.
the
any of
only
them.
other season finale thing that I could think of is okay, you find out who the stranger is. I don't know how you would, but it's either.
I think both of those are going to be the same episode. I think next week is going to be a weird episode where it feels more like I think they're going to be catching up again. Like, here's some more stuff from all the other storylines, and here are them like surviving after the aftermath of this. And I think it's probably going to be a kind of low key episode. And then I think the finale is going to be like the explosive reveals and everything.
I don't know. I don't think they turn it into Mordor and then not have some episodes with Mordor.
No, yeah, I'm saying they have to survive the aftermath of this. So it's Mordor, but I just don't think it's going to be like we're going to continue this momentum. I think it's going to slow down.
I disagree.
Bit.
I think it's pedal to the metal.
I don't know how you could possibly carry this momentum for 2 more hours.
I think they have to survive. They have to get through it,
I don't think surviving is going to be like as exciting as this episode. I think it's going to be cool, but I think they had like a really explosive episode, and then we're going to calm down a little bit, and like it's going to be maybe a more personal episode of people surviving, and then we'll have a big finale.
The next episode is only going to be the Harfoots and Durin.
I don't think that.
And they're not going to even touch the Southlands.
Yeah, no, I don't think that. I think that we're going to see the Southlands.
That's what I think.
So? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there maybe. Oh, something happened in the Southlands.
Yeah, I think they're
You get
definitely.
one of
gonna be
I
in
think
Southlands,
that the
but
Harfoots are in Udûn. Based on,
I don't know.
You think they're dead?
I don't think they're. I think some of them will die from the explosion. I think they're in the area because the place that they say that they go to is a glen, and the only narrow valley that is near, like a secluded valley that is near anywhere where they show on the map, is the place that ends up being Udûn, where the Black Gate ends up being.
I think that we'll find out more about this next week. And that we've been going for an hour and a half, so I think it's time to wrap this up. Do you guys have anything else about this episode specifically that you want to touch on?
No,
I don't think so.
We pretty much hit everything.
All right, I think it was. All right, well, Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me and including me on the episode where you gave your worst opinion. I appreciate that.
But what about the rest of my opinion, though? Besides that one,
I mean, hey, there's some compelling arguments as to why Hellbrand would be Sauron, but you started with literally your worst one and one that just didn't make any sense. Like, they wouldn't make him lose, but he didn't even lose.
I am right, but that's okay.
Guys, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the Discord
Dude, I loved it when Thanos got his ass beat
how
in the first fight we
Shawn
saw.
made some really good, really
That's
good
not even the same thing.
points, but started with the absolute worst take. Let us know.
It was really cool when the first time Loki appeared in the Avengers, Nick Fury captured him immediately.
That's
Yeah,
definitely
that's kinda what
a
happened.
comparable.
No, that's not what happens. What do you
I
mean?
mean, not the first time, but he gets
Galadriel
captured on
isn't Nick
purpose. That's
Fury.
actually a similar.
Yes,
it's a
but
similar
not the first
storyline.
time.
Oh my God, Shawn, this is such a weird point that you're trying to make.
Yeah. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, Mike?
You can find me malding at Shawn's Takes at SpikeGhetti Bros on Twitter. Which it's funny, Jason always says find him at SpikeGhetti Bros. It's never him. It's always me. Just so you guys know, it's always me on Twitter.
No.
Jason doesn't go to Twitter. He's not
Twitter
a
is
Twitter
a terrible
user.
place.
You can also.
It's Udûn.
I mean, Jason's gonna say the same shit I am. So
No, you go ahead. I'm not even plugging.
Twitch.tv/Super Spaghetti Bros. Follow us on Twitch. YouTube Super Spaghetti Bros, where we post podcasts and things, and
Yeah,
some shorts.
YouTube shorts.
Yo,
If you guys don't like TikTok,
we also have a
follow us on
TikTok.
TikTok, Super Spaghetti Bros.
Super Spaghetti Bros. I have
Or
a
And Smoke More
podcast with
podcast.
my friend Shawn called Squid Pro Quo, where we talk about Squid Game.
Yo.
And I promise his takes aren't that bad on that show. I don't know what happened here, but
I'm right.
and then all kinds of stuff like that. Also, I love you guys.
dude, I
Thank
love
you
you
for
too.
having me on.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at
Shawn,
Shawn.
you're not gonna say you love me back, dude.
I don't know if I love you right now, Mike. You're being very mean to me.
Oh, I'm not.
I love you,
I
Mike.
just said I loved you.
And you guys can hear Mike and I after this show ends. You won't be free of me on what is this, a crossover episode? A
Oh, yeah.
BoJack Horseman podcast.
Don't call him Hoseman.
Sorry. Well, it's too late. Follow me on Twitter at Shawn_AFK. This juice cover art was made by our good friend Alex on Twitter at ALX_BigBoy. Our awesome intro music was done by Shane Plunkett and Jesse Wright from Meadow Vista Media. You guys can follow them on Twitter at MVM_studio or go to their website, meadowvistamedia.com. And I believe, unless something changes, you can hear both of them on this podcast next week, breaking down on what is going to be a slower episode of The Rings of Power so that they can break down all the music so far and tell us about how terrible or great it was. Spoiler alert, I think it's going to be great. Yeah, that's all I've got.
Yeah, dude. The music's so good. I want to say some people are saying that the music is bad, and that's just the worst take I've heard about the entire show.
I can't believe somebody would say The Walking Dead's own Bear McCreary would make a bad soundtrack to a television show.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s very own Bear McCreary.
I decided to go with a better show, Shawn. The Walking Dead is actually more canon to the Marvel Cinematic Universe than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Can you if I send that to you, can you clip it out and post it on Fine, I'll do it myself? Just like
absolutely, I will. Absolutely. I'll say it again right now. The Walking Dead is more canon to the Marvel Cinematic Universe than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, especially if you listen all the way to the end of this shit show. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your 11 Cs, and we'll see you next week for Second Breakfast.